nice to see all of you. I am delighted to be here representing the National Recreation and Park Association and the over 60,000 agents of change we represent. I refer to parks and recreation professionals as agents of change because they are. And yet many people are not familiar with the wide array of programs and services that we provide and the innovation that happens in parks and recreation. So help me by raising your hand if you view parks and recreation as a significant health and wellness provider. Right on. Good answer. Now raise your hand if you are currently actively partnering with your local parks and recreation team. Okay, not bad. I'm here today to make a case for why more of you should view us as a health and wellness provider, why you should be partnering with your local parks and recreation team, why we're critical to solving the public health issues of our day, and to give you a snapshot of the terrific work already happening in parks and recreation. Parks build healthy communities. Yes, they do. But what's often overlooked is the extent to which we are engaged in tackling some of the most challenging social, health, and environmental challenges facing our communities today. Take our Commit to Health campaign. Nearly 6 years ago, NRPA embarked on a journey to help tackle the national obesity epidemic. We brought a health and wellness mindset to after-school and summertime youth programs being offered in parks and recreation. But we went further by incorporating other social determinants of health, things like access to education, social connections, community safety, and healthcare. Let's take a look at this video.
5 years ago, NRPA embarked on a mission to change the way park and recreation agencies look at health and wellness during out-of-school times. To tackle the obesity crisis head-on, NRPA made a commitment to the Partnership for a Healthier America and officially launched Commit to Health on February 25, 2014, a campaign that encourages park and recreation facilities to implement healthy eating and physical activity standards.
They've learned to actually enjoy eating their fruits and vegetables versus constantly wanting to eat chips, candy, soda. They bring every healthy aspect that they learn at Kids Connection, they bring it home.
The meals, they're healthy for us and they help me get strong instead of weak. It would be very hard to eat a healthy meal if I didn't come here.
A healthy meal, I think, sets a child up for success due to the fact that it will help them stay focused, whether in classroom, outside of the classroom, during crucial times of the day, because today's youth will be tomorrow's leaders.
Since 2014, more than 2,000 park and recreation sites have pledged to commit to health. That means nearly 500,000 youth have improved access to healthy food and physical activity.
What I look forward to coming here each day is playing, learning, and enjoying myself.
Even though they have all of these different athletic activities and they're learning about the different sports, how to play different sports, it's also teaching them team building, and it's teaching them how to respect one another.
Programs like this are so important for our kids because it keeps them on the same path and it keeps them on the same schedule and routine as they are in school.
As Commit to Health moves into the future, NRPA looks forward to expanding health and wellness opportunities to even more youth and families in even more places through the power of local parks and recreation.
At NRPA, we're proud to champion the field of parks and recreation, and we're proud to work in partnership with our members to strengthen programs like Commit to Health. Parks and recreation are trusted partners working with allies just like yourselves to build programs that strengthen both individual health and community-level health. We're also tackling some of the most pressing public health issues of our time, a lot of which we've heard about and talked about already today, things like the opioid epidemic and an increasing prevalence of depression and anxiety. So let's talk about mental health. We've heard nature helps with mental health. Parks provide a connection to nature and to green space, which we know reduces levels of stress, anxiety. We know it improves interpersonal relationships and overall mental health. And for the millions of people who are living with a mental health condition, parks and recreation offer evidence-based programs that create social supports and a sense of community, that help people manage their conditions through physical activity and pain management classes, and that provide youth with connection to vital programs during their most vulnerable times, like after school. I'm really proud to talk about a program launched in Miami-Dade County called Fit to Lead. Their Parks and Recreation programs partnered with others to focus on youth aged 12 to 17 years. This is a crucial demographic, as researchers show that their rates of depression have increased dramatically in recent years. And we know that there is a strong relationship between depression, anxiety, chronic emotional stress, and things like low impulse control and violence. In fact, violence is the leading cause of death and non-fatal injuries in the US among those aged 10 to 24 years. After-school programs, like those offered in Parks and Recreation, are ideal settings for youth to gain access to critical social and emotional skill building, for them to find connection with each other, for them to work on their overall health, their social emotional health, their physical health. And Fit to Lead is just such a program. A study on the tremendous success of Fit to Lead was echoed in the American Journal of Public Health. And in that study, it showed that after 2 years of implementation, juvenile arrests significantly decreased in those areas where Fit to Lead was offered. That's the power of Parks and Recreation. And congratulations to Miami-Dade County. The substance use crisis is another issue that we are actively engaged on. And as you can appreciate, I'm sure, our members are often confronted with many of its impacts, things like discarded needles and syringes, overdoses, illicit substances being distributed, and other challenges like vaping and e-cigarette use. For my last example today, I want to take you to Central Appalachia, which, as Sam noted earlier, is a region that's been particularly hard hit by the opioid epidemic. There, we are working with Parks and Recreation teams and others to support the community towards positive paths forward. In Elizabethton, Tennessee, for example, one of the sites of our program, Parks and Recreation professionals are being trained on youth mental health first aid. And this recognizes the connection between adverse childhood experiences and the importance of brain development. And it takes that knowledge and it uses it to apply a trauma-informed care lens to their youth programming. But they're going a step beyond that by taking a community-wide approach and partnering with the local university and youth sports, the city library, the County Anti-Drug Coalition, and others to launch a strong mentoring program targeted at at-risk youth. Through this mentoring program, mentor and mentee engage in activities of common interest, things like skateboarding and bicycling and playing games, all done in social settings to encourage engagement and connection. In an area that has been so hard hit, where so many have been impacted in some way by the opioid epidemic, connecting youth to compassionate, caring adults is so critical. It's so critical to creating those connections that can make all the difference in positive health outcomes, in community level health. As a participant in a training that NRPA offered recently shared from his own personal experience, he said, people think the opposite of addiction is sobriety. It's not. It's connection. Parks and Recreation hold those trusted institutional gathering places, places where we can connect community members to services that they need, places where we can build those social connections that are so important to community health. Our dream, our vision, our plan is to help our members create true community wellness hubs, places where we can offer programs and services that advance health equity, that improve health outcomes, and improve quality of life for all members of the community. There are far too many programs and services offered in Parks and Recreation and under this banner of community wellness hubs than I can possibly mention. But they include things like access to healthy foods, behavioral health services, of course, disaster relief, and cultural enrichment. But we cannot do it alone. We need you. Through our partnership, we can do things like expand the services that we're offering. We can connect more vulnerable people to the services and the benefits that they so desperately need. And we can design new initiatives that are responsive to both current and emerging public health issues. At NRPA, again, we are so proud to be partnering with so many of you and genuinely look forward to deepening and broadening those partnerships in the months and years to come. And now it is my genuine pleasure to introduce you to my colleague and collaborator, Neelay Bhatt. Neelay is going to share a unique perspective on the evolving role of Parks and Recreation in solving public health issues locally and around the globe. Please join me in welcoming Neelay.
Good afternoon, everybody. Oh my God, that was all of 4 people. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. There you go. My name is Neelay Bhatt, and I live in the future for a living. What if I told you that the world's 3rd most wealthiest and largest economy in the world wasn't even a country? We all know about the impacts of mental health and what it does on the economies. Kristine spoke a lot about also how outdoor exposure to nature, also has positive impacts on mental health and well-being. Researchers at Griffith University in Queensland, Australia, mapped the impact in actual dollars and estimated an economic value of about $6 trillion that are accrued by positive mental health simply by access to protected open space and natural areas like parks, national parks, and recreation spaces. Simply put, if the impact of parks were a country, it would be the 3rd wealthiest country in the world. But I'm not here to talk to you about $6 trillion. I'm here to talk to you about something even more important than that. our future. And our future is urban. We've seen this urbanizing trend over the years. 30% lived in urban areas in 1950. The UN projects by 2050, it'll be almost 70%. Over 4.5 billion people will live in urbanized areas in the cities. And while urbanization has a lot of good, it also comes with a lot of health challenges, as you all know. From high level of stress, to air pollution, to respiratory diseases, to cardiovascular issues, to poor diets, and physical inactivity. All of this compounded by the ever-increasing number of people moving into the cities. And it is so acute that right now, physical inactivity is estimated to be the 4th leading risk factor for death globally. In fact, the United Nations and the World Health Organization, the study, have estimated that 3.3% of all global deaths are linked to poor physical inactivity as a result of poor walkability and lack of access to recreation. Put another way, every year we lose the entire population of San Diego simply because they're physically inactive, because they have no place to walk or no place to recreate. And this is unacceptable. This has to stop. This has to change. And there are cities around the world that are doing just that. Curitiba in Brazil, 50 years ago, same situation, fast-growing population, one park, and no access to outdoor recreation. The planners worked on this as well. They developed and invested in slum rehabilitation, in recycling initiatives, and built a multimodal and a bus transit system that connected to the greenways, connected to walkways, and encouraged more people to walk and bike. The results were astounding. From a city that had one park, they now have 50 square meters of green space per person. And not just that, while the population increased 5 times in the last 50 years, the air pollution levels continue to stay lower than their peers, and life expectancies in Curitiba are almost 2 years greater than other cities in Brazil. That is the impact that having access can have on human life at every level. Now, you've all heard me speak for a little bit right now, and I'm sure you've clearly found out from my accent that I'm a native Texan. Kidding. I was born in Bombay, now Mumbai, India, which is in equal parts LA and New York. It's the home to Bollywood, and it's the home to the financial capital. Needless to say, everybody wants to live there, to the tune of 20 million people and counting. As you can imagine, if Bombay were a state, it'd be the 3rd most populous state in the United States, in a landmass half the size of New York. So you can imagine the challenges urbanization is causing there as well, from every aspect of health indicators, stress, quality of life, and just simply the creation of concrete jungles. The leadership and the planning team invested in creating essentially the opposite of the High Line in New York. They built the underline under multiple flyovers connecting throughout the city. I'm happy to say this is the very first one that was built about 3 years ago, right across the street from where I grew up. So while they're encouraging people to walk through all of this as well, to jog, to get some exercise, you see a lot of people that simply come there to sit, simply to be. In a place where they're surrounded by concrete jungles, this is an oasis of green space. And while it's critically important to imagine the positive impact of this access from a physical activity standpoint, it's just as important for what they help provide, which is what Kristine spoke to earlier, as a community gathering space. These are places where people feel a sense of community, a sense of well-being. And for many people, as you look at this as well, like my 87-year-old grandmother, she was a teenager in school when Gandhi came to her school to exhort the girls from her school to stand up and march for India's independence. Today, when she can't walk to a park, they just brought the park to her. And now she marches independently arm in arm with her 85-year-old best friend to walk to the same park and feel a sense of community. This is the why. This is why I do what I do with my company. With Pros Consulting, we master plan for parks and recreation in cities all over California and all over the country. And this is where we have now started to focus on our plans to help address health challenges. We've got a city health dashboard that collects data from over 500 cities on a variety of health metrics. Everything from obesity, to frequent mental and physical distress, to physical inactivity levels, to also limited access to healthy food, all with the intent of identifying the places that have the greatest need for access. And then translating all of this into maps to be able to show the city of Memphis, for example, where 40%, 2 out of 5 people are obese, compared to 28% in the national averages, where physical inactivity is at a significantly higher level, where 1 out of 8 people experience more than 14 days of physical or mental distress. And all of that is linked to park access. Less than half the population has access to a park within a 10-minute walk. And this is where, using the data, we identify areas where we need to address the health inequities by providing parks as a solution to these challenges. This isn't just an area that we focus on, and I truly believe this is something all over the world. We have a passion, we believe in NRPA's mission of ensuring that everyone deserves a great park. And we find our counterparts in Australia feel the same way. They put out a position paper on health and wellness, and there was a line in there that really stuck with me. And it said that we have an obligation to assist with improving community health and well-being outcomes by acting to preserve the right to recreate. The right to recreate for our current and our future generations. They deserve this. Our future deserves this. Our kids deserve this. And we have to provide them places that they can go out and recreate. This, by the way, is just a picture of my kids. I just wanted them here. Just makes me happy. But here's the key. I believe that every one of you in this room is an agent of change. I believe that every individual has the ability to inspire collective action. And I want to show you a quick video to demonstrate how.
सर आपके लिए उस पार कार का इंतजाम किया है सर। सर आइए सर। ये चल चल। क्या बात करता है? क्या ऊपर से जाएगा? क्या ऊपर से जा?
गया मीशो।
I hate this country. कुछ करो ना।
अब मैं वहाँ जाके क्या उखाड़ लूँगा?
कैसी जाने बूंदे आई, जाने कैसा दर्द लाई, सामने क्या है ये तेरे, क्यों रुका है तू बता रे हो। कौन तुझको पार लेगा, कौन होगा वो मसीहा, मुझसे तू ढूंढता है, वो ही है तू वही है। तुझ में तेरा रास्ता है, तुझ में तेरा है सहारा, तू ही तुझको पार लेगा, तू ही है तेरा किनारा। है, तुझ में तेरा है सहारा, तू ही तुझको
Now, this was a really viral video in India, and the lines you heard just said that you are your own salvation. You are your own path to success. You are the one you've been waiting for. My friends, every one of our communities has these big trees in them, these public health challenges that we wonder, how can anybody alone make a difference? But what I've always believed is that one person with strength of character is a majority. One voice that speaks up for what's right can start a movement, and one agent of change looking to make a difference can make a dent in the universe. So together, let's pledge to build a future where everyone has the right and the access to recreate, and where no child is left indoors. Thank you.